to the earliest way, somewhat like the Taoist idea, but he's not a Taoist. He's a post-Enlightenment thinker and very deeply concerned about human rationality, how human rationality works, but he puts a lot of emphasis. This is like Confucianism, like Dasein, which is what it is that presents itself, and it's not something you can understand purely from your rational mind. In the later Heidegger, he was very much influenced by, among other things, Zen Buddhism. So he became open to poetry, especially the poetry of Hölderlin. And so he more and more interested in the mystic. He's not a mystic himself. The mysterious of human self-development, human understanding, and the ability to become sensitive to non-rational expression of human potential. So he has a much broader vision about what human potential is. And I think that mode of thinking is closer not to Immanuel Kant, closer to Nietzsche, and closer to a different kind of tradition. A lot of scholars have been involved in the study, comparative study of Heidegger and East Asian thought, but more comparison between Heidegger and Taoism than Heidegger and Confucianism. Precisely, the social dimension of Confucianism is something he didn't take very seriously. He didn't consider as essential for his philosophical project. So from the Mencian idea of ethics, you need to not only discovery, you need to exercise your ability to discover, but also recovery, and then development. And the sprouts of humanity are so feeble that is something which differentiates a human being from all the other members of the animal kingdom. So you care for that. You need to expand it, you need to extend it, you need to develop it. Now, contrast it with Mencius, that's Xunzi. Xunzi, in a way, is more congenial to virtue ethics, because Xunzi believes that the internalization of values is absolutely critical, because each and every human being is devoid of the internal virtues. A human being is designed, it's defined in terms of desires. And desires ought to be harmonized. And since desires ought to be harmonized, you have to learn the virtues from the outside. Learning, self-cultivation, is to learn from the sages, from society, from ritual, from law, from friends, from teachers. If you don't learn, you can never become perfected. And that learning process is the internalization of virtues. So in this particular sense, while Mencius is more congenial to a kind of internal self-discovery, internal self-recovery, and extension of one's the inner core of one's basic sprouts. Xunzi would consider a person is more or less empty. There's a notion about the quality of the heart and mind, which is empty, which is integrated, which is fluid, which is receptive. And these qualities of the mind help the mind to allow all kinds of virtues to enter into the mind, and the mind has the ability to integrate them, and the person becomes gradually perfected through it, through this kind of internalization. In fact, in the West, especially in the modern West, most philosophers interested in Confucian ethics consider themselves involving virtue ethics. So the question, what is the difference between Confucian ethics and virtue ethics? The answer from overwhelming majority of American philosophers will say none. Confucian ethics is a form of virtue ethics. Not my quarrel, my uneasiness about this is typically Xunzi, but not mentioned. Because the mentioned approach, which is very, very alien to scholars outside of, the funny thing is, overwhelming majority of scholars working on Confucian ethics in China will automatically accept Mencius as the most authentic manifestation. Now this, of course, following the Song and Ming Confucian tradition. The 4 books, Xunzi is not included, Mencius is. Whereas overwhelming majority of the scholars in the West, in America, subscribe to Xunzi as the proper way of understanding the Confucian project. The communication has not been fully established.
So you assume that for Xunzi there's some kind of emptiness associated with heart and mind,
yes,
which allows people to learn.
More than that, it is the project is to using the cognitive function of the heart and mind.